Hey directors, today we're going to be talking about some vocabulary and we're going to be looking at the top view of a ground plan of a proscenium theater. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to be looking at is the apron. So I know you guys are all familiar with the apron, but please know that every proscenium theater has an apron. Okay? Another thing to note is that this right here, this line going from the left to the right, is the plaster line. So the plaster line is essentially the end of a proscenium and the beginning of the stage. This is your stage floor. All of this right here, that's all your stage. So this plaster line indicates that separation between the apron, the proscenium, and the stage floor. Next we're looking at is the center line, which is an important part of designing. So even though directors aren't entirely involved with the center line, it's something to be aware of when looking at a ground plan. So if I were to cut this stage in half, this is where this fold would go, right here. Okay? Alright, so let's look over here and learn some vocabulary, alright? First thing we're going to notice is that these squiggly lines are everywhere, right? Everywhere. Right here, right here, right here, here and here, here. What I want to make note is that these are all curtains. They may not be the exact same type of curtain, but they are all curtains and they provide masking. So this first one is the act curtain, which can also be known as the main drape. So the main drape is basically what starts a show, ends a show, ends an act, begins an act. It doesn't always have to, but it also helps with making scene changes behind it. An act curtain is important. It's very, very important to know where it is, because if you have actors in front of it and then an act ends, how are they going to get behind it, and how are they going to get to the backstage? So it's important to know where the act curtain is. Next thing we're talking about is the valance. So the valance is essentially a drape that covers the first electric rail. So the first electric is where the first set of lights go. And that's very, very important for us to be aware of as well as directors, so that we know where we can put our actors for lighting purposes. Next is the shell, which, lovely enough, is not very important to us. Shells are usually used for acoustic purposes, so for concerts, for choirs, not really theatrical things. So let's not worry about that, but please note that it is there. Next is the border. The border is kind of like the valance, but it's a lot longer. It's not as short as the valance is. The border is another black curtain that covers the second electric, and possibly another rail that might be back there that is being used for scenery and things like that. But borders are used to mask anything that might take away from the magic. Any kind of technical elements that are part back there. The next thing we're talking about is legs. So a leg is another part of masking. Something overall that I want you guys to be aware of is that curtains are used for masking. Masking is important. Don't forget that theater is magic. So be aware of where you put things like your legs and travelers, your curtain, things like that, because we don't want audience members sitting back here and being able to see all this magic back here that is not a part of what's going on stage, and it be lost because we did not put masking like a leg right here. Okay? So then again, we're talking about the second electric, where all the lights go for the mid part of the stage right here. And again, we have that border there to help mask what's on that second electric. The next and final thing we'll be talking about is the traveler. So the black traveler is basically the big black curtain that runs through the left and right side of the stage. And I love a traveler because it can be used to mask more of what's happening back here, like you see here. This stuff is being probably hidden by the traveler at some point. So traveler is a black curtain that travels across the stage. That's the best way to remember it. Okay? So next time we talk about some parts of the stage, we'll be going over a little bit more of what's back here and how to read the numbers and talk about positioning of set pieces. All right? Thanks, directors. Happy directing!